Hey everyone, welcome back to Boardroom to Booth, where we're meeting interesting people doing interesting things in the music industry. This is the Mallorca season or sessions, and I've got a good mate, Mark or Frank, on the show. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it's great to have you on. Even though we know so much about each other, it's great to have you on the lineup this year. I think
Yes, thank
for
you.
everyone else here, can you just tell us a bit about your history and who you are and as you are an artist?
Yeah, so I started off just sort of DJing as a hobby when I was around about 20 years old. So I haven't, I wasn't really into it as a kid. I always wanted to be, but it wasn't very accessible for me as a child. It was much more expensive to access when I was younger. And so yeah, I DJed as a hobby for a little bit and realized I was quite good at it. So just sort of snowballed from there really, and went through many years of sort of chasing gigs and so on. And then I decided to start teaching DJing and music production. I worked with the London Sound Academy, tutoring there for 4 or 5 years, and did quite a bit there. Run the club course at Egg, and
That's how we met. Yeah.
it was, yes. So and then since then, have been doing lots of my own tutoring privately with my own students, and just really sort of focusing on the artistry, and really sort of focusing on my music a lot more. Really wanting to polish my sound a little bit more, I think, in the studio. So I haven't been really playing too many gigs recently. I've only played one this year. So, a lot of time has been spent in the studio. Unfortunately, a lot of time spent doing admin, catching up on years and years and years of working in the studio, but with not, not the right structure. So now I'm helping myself to polish polish everything up, and get back on the game really, and really start pushing my sound out there a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're probably being self depreciating because you're a very good DJ. And yeah, but I mean, that says that from the fact that you've been teaching for that many years at a good establishment. You're now doing things privately. But I mean, I guess I'm just a random question, really. If you
Yeah.
look back at your teaching experience, what do you think that taught you as a DJ producer?
Well, I think one of my favorite sayings that I heard years and years and years ago was when one teaches to learn, and I think that was such a great way to sort of sum up how I approach teaching, because music is such a wide thing, and I've never met anyone. It's the one thing that pulls every single human being that I can think of together. We all like some sort of music, and we might not all agree on what we do and don't like, but everyone likes music of some description. And I think teaching people from all walks of life, of all ages, helps push me as an artist as well. I have to adapt. I have to learn, and ultimately be able to teach what people want to learn as well. And that means sometimes going down and learning things that I'm not familiar with, especially in certain genres. It's forced me to broaden my horizons, think a little bit differently, and ultimately just become a better artist. And I can draw inspiration from so many different places now. And I listen to all sorts of different music in different ways. For a solid 8 to 10 years, all I did was house music.
Sure.
And it's helped me push forward. And I love making drum and bass, and I always used to make a bit of garage anyway, but pushing more into that like 140, almost like dubstep grime sort of crossovers with garage that I really enjoy as well. So it's been great to be able to explore those genres a little bit. I think house music's always got my heart though.
Fair enough.
It's the one. It's the one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely helped me sort of broaden my horizons, and just approach everything differently. And the sense of satisfaction I get from seeing my students doing really, really, really well as well, taking it from not knowing a single thing about a CDJ or a controller or a record box
uh,
or anything like this, and going to literally the world stages and traveling the world
yeah,
DJing. It's a great feeling. It's lovely to be able to give people that, help them achieve their dreams, and see them doing well. And yeah, that's something I've not that's unmatched. That sense of job satisfaction I don't seem to get anywhere else. So
that's good. That's good. I mean, we've alluded around this, but given your many years as a DJ and a professional one and a teacher, what's your sound?
I think my sound is energetic. I think is probably the best way to describe what I do. If you had to put a broad label over everything, I think I'm quite adaptive in terms of how I DJ. I love to read a room and I love to play to the crowd. It's not some I'm. It's funny actually as I progress more as an artist in the studio with more releases under my belt, I actually find myself curating my sets a little bit more now. I'm playing a lot more of my own music, whereas previously, for the last 10 years, I've been, really solidly just reading rooms and playing to the crowd and what I think they want to hear. And, that gives you some really great experience and things to take back to the studio as well. But I think typically, my sound has revolved around certain influences. So I think garage has probably been one of the biggest influences.
Yeah,
I wouldn't necessarily say it's like my favorite genre, but growing up in the UK, just outside
yeah,
of London and in the suburbs of London around the turn of the century, the year 2000, it was a big moment. Garage was
uh,
was really on the up, and that was I think my first three albums that I can ever remember. I can remember the first album I stole from my mum, the first one my dad ever gave me, and I can remember the first one I ever bought with my own money. And I think they're a great example of my influences. So the one that I stole from my mum was Born to Do It by Craig David.
okay.
I loved the album. I still think it's one of the best albums ever written to this day. It's absolutely fantastic. The first album I remember my dad ever giving me was Fat of the Land by the Prodigy.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep,
So draw a lot of inspiration. Again, they had, breakbeat, techno, house,
yeah,
garage, all of these sounds. I love
and energetic.
sampling and
Yeah,
energetic. Yeah,
yeah.
like dark but energetic and impactful. And I think that's what I really, really love about the sounds as well. And the Prodigy were a big, big, big influence throughout. My teenage years as well. I played in bands. I played guitar. I was big into my
Mm,
metal music as well. But things like the Prodigy, and I had big influences from my dad in trance music as well.
okay.
That never really left. So even though I loved playing in metal bands and things like that, I would still listen to electronic music
Yeah.
as well. And the first album I ever bought with my own money was Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. And I
Okay.
think I think they were the first, real rock band or metal band to come on the scene that really used, they had a DJ, they had a guy that sat there with a sampler and a
Mm.
and a synthesizer and started incorporating those more, digital and electronic sounds into more conventional sort of music as we knew it at the time. And I think they were a big influence as well.
So that's quite interesting because they are quite spread
Mm,
and super energetic in their own way, aren't they? So, and you're making me think now of my influences because I think I went to a Prodigy concert when I was much younger when they were big. I
amazing.
mean, but the energy just like threw me because it's
Yeah.
like I mean, the thing we're probably going to connect on is like we all have our own metronome in our mind, what our thing is, but we've also, it's a frequency as well, isn't it? So we all have our own frequency. So the two combined make you,
Yes.
and probably going a bit profound, but it is interesting to see because it's making me realize how, like for me, it was quite dancey and soul-y rather than
Mm.
energetic where you went, right? So you can see where there's like that trajectory over 20, 30 years because the nucleus comes from it right at the beginning, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
It's funny. I think I found myself actually as I'm now in my mid-30s, I think as I'm getting older, my sound is evolving more rapidly. And I think I'm pushing more towards I think a lot of the music I made in my 20s was probably reflective of how I was feeling at the time. So a lot of it sounded quite dark, and some of it I guess kind of chaotic. And I think that was probably reflective of how I was at the time. In recent years, that's definitely evolved. I've really enjoyed making like more upbeat, funky sort of music, and again, going back to my roots in electronic and house music, you know, my biggest influences to get into DJing and production was that turn of the era of deep house, you know, 2011, 2012. You know, vividly I get goosebumps thinking about it still.
Yeah.
Remember walking up the corridor of Ministry of Sound
Hmm.
into 103, into the main room, sort of walking out underneath the stairs like, whoa, you know, it was my first proper nightclub that I'd been to.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Frankie Rosado was playing
Yeah.
at the time, and he's again been a big influence. First proper DJ I ever walked into playing. Didn't know who he was at the time,
Yeah.
you
Sure.
know, and still remember "Deep Inside" by Hard Drive
Yeah.
was the track playing as I walked in,
Yeah.
and yeah, it changed my life.
Amazing.
And yeah, so I've noticed myself going back to that sort of deep house route a little bit
Yeah.
more as well,
Yeah.
bringing in that sort of modern garage influence, the more minimal aspects, and that deep garage influence, a deep house influence as well, mixed with the garage. So what I'm producing at the moment seems to be, yeah, forming or going back to my roots a little bit more in electronic music and taking on a slightly brighter sound. I guess that's probably what
I
it was
understand.
getting.
Yeah. So, but also, what is deep house today? That's
Yeah, that's a hard
yeah.
one.
I mean, like the only reason is only because I've done a bit of study on it.
Mm,
There was a Kevin McKay, if you know Glasgow Underground, that
yeah.
he did a great post on how deep house has changed on the Beatport thing. Because what's happened is like I think the labels can choose where your records go. An
Yes.
artist blows up, and because that combination works, they stay in that genre. He uses different artist names to say from doing that the official thing is under 125 or something like that, and it's up to
Yeah.
137. And so he, and because I have an interest in organic, I can
Yes.
see why I got there, because my version of organic is basically the old version of deep house.
It's the
I
old
go,
deep house.
do you
Yeah.
know, yeah, so I'm at the upper end of it. I used to say to people, I play the synthetic version of organic, but I don't do
Okay.
like, Egyptian or Arabian slow things. They're quite
Yeah.
like electronic, but really what it is, that's the old deep house, and the genres have pushed it out to a different type of music now. So
Yeah, it's
it's,
weird. I mean, I've had students come in before and go, you know, I say, "Oh, what do you like to play?" And they're like, "Deep
yeah,
house," and then they put it
yeah,
on. I'm
yeah,
like, "This isn't deep house, you know. This is
yeah,
EDM or
yeah,
something like that." It's you know,
yeah,
I've had all sorts
exactly,
of different things,
exactly
and
that. And I've got a Peloton at home, and they basically, Leanne is like one of the top instructors, and she had this deep
mm,
house, and she said, "Oh, I absolutely love deep house." She's like, she's doing her class, and I'm
yeah,
listening, thinking that ain't deep house,
yeah,
and it's sort of, so the definition is there. Um, all right, so
yeah,
we could get probably into a lot of detail of that, because both of us like to put the world to rights. I'm going to ask
yes.
you a quick question because I love this with you. What do you think people get wrong in DJing?
What do I think people get wrong in DJing?
Yeah,
That's an
nice,
interesting one.
big, big question.
I think. Well, that's a hard one.
Yeah,
Do initially from I mean, I think from teaching people, most people's journey looks similar. They have no idea what they're doing. They start to grasp the basics. They get pretty good at doing simple mixes from one track to another. And they go, right, great. They hit the barrier. They go, I feel like I'm doing the same thing every time. They then want to go a bit further. They start learning about different transitions, effects, you know, ways to manipulate the music more. They then start over applying that, realizing that all their mixes sound rubbish again. And then they do full circle and they go back to doing the basics really well.
interesting. Yeah,
And so I think I think one, as people are learning, the biggest mistake is probably over applying knowledge or over applying things. I
Mm.
saw Phil Harris did a video recently where he like did a breakdown of one of Mal P's sets. Didn't use
Yes.
the effects once.
Yeah.
Didn't use any weird trickery or anything. Literally track selection, timing and EQing, and that's it.
Yeah.
And and that's somebody genuinely at the top of his game. And I think you can pretty much apply this to 99% of the DJs out there that are on the world stage. They just do the basics really, really,
Really
really
well.
well,
Yeah.
and they use some cool trickery here and there, but it's not their identity. Obviously there's some outliers to this. James Hype is probably the one that pops into everyone's mind. His
Yeah.
whole brand is built off of a particular style
Trickery.
of
Yeah.
DJing
Yeah.
and trickery.
Yeah.
But people again, they don't realize how well rehearsed that is.
Yeah.
It's very, very rarely ever done. Things like that are done on the
Yeah.
fly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you ever come and watch me play and see me doing some cool James Hype style trickery and I have a look of happiness and amazement on my face, it's because that's the first time I've ever done it. And I'm
Yeah.
just as amazed as everyone else. I'm like, have you heard this? This is really,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
really cool. I genuinely do. And that's just how I prefer to do it. I prefer to have those sort of happy accidents and
Yeah.
do it that way. I think on a whole, I think the biggest mistakes, though, that probably I see professional DJs making is not checking your settings, which if anyone's had any lessons with me, they'll know how much I drill the settings into people learning that, everything that I can't remember the name of the DJ. No, she's a young German DJ. I think she recently did a set on Whore, and her first transition, she goes to put a loop in using the in and out loop buttons. Has quantize turned off. Obviously, every time the loop goes round, it's jumping wildly out of time,
Yeah.
and she's just panicking. And it's like everyone has mistakes like that, but it's just simple things of like every single time you step up to the decks, remembering these settings. And I've seen big DJs mess up from having really, really simple things not checked. Crossfader assignments, or
Sure.
not realizing that the effects level or the depth has been left up and they accidentally hit the button or something like that. There's just a whole host of different things, load lock, things like that. So I
Mm.
think
Mm.
usually it's just knowing your stuff, knowing your settings, and I think it's something I'm guilty of as well. A lot of the time is not playing to the crowd enough,
Okay. Yeah.
and I think it's a really, really, really hard. It's a really hard line to toe and to find the balance of, because, and that's one of the things I say to my students as well. When you first start out as a DJ, ultimately you've got the hardest job. You get the opening slots, you get the slots no one else wants to play. You have to play the music that you probably don't really like very much, because, in order to get a gig and to get in front and have people and have an experience in front of a crowd and play to people, you end up having to take gigs that you don't really want sometimes, and you play slower or play different music and stuff like this. So you end up having to read a crowd more and play to the crowd a hell of a lot more. You have to really, really think about what you're doing and be a lot more, present in the room, and be able to pivot and change the style of music completely in order to satisfy the crowd.
Mm.
As you start getting better and better and you start being known for a particular style, or especially if you're in production and you're making your own music and you get known for your own productions, you start being able to play to much, much bigger crowds, but you get more leniency with the crowd on what you play. That's not to say I haven't seen some big name DJs play sets where I'm like, really? Like, interesting? Not
Yeah.
what I would have chosen,
Yeah.
not what I
Yeah.
was expecting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen Capriati before a few times. I remember seeing it at a festival, walking into a tent at a festival, and I'm like, oh, Capriati's playing. Like, we'll go there, get some good music, and I walk in, and I'm like, this is not what I was expecting. I've seen him a
Yeah.
fair few times before. I know what
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
expect. And it must have been, he was experimenting, trying something different at a time, years and years and years ago. And sometimes you get that, everyone has to do these things and learn. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I've also seen some DJs just completely, tank and just play some weird music that no one's vibing to, and then you think you'd surely realize that no one's really enjoying this.
Yeah.
Just try a little switch up.
Something different.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
they just double down on what they're doing, and
No.
you're like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I've seen that a few times, and it's like it's not working. And to me, DJing is purely problem solving. It's live problem solving. It's like a wedding. You got to show it's working, and underneath it's all breaking. And
yeah,
then and it's like, okay, it's not working, but you've got nothing to lose to change. But I do think, depending on where you are and your levels of peace within, can your brain sort of settle and go, okay, here's my other crate, here's my other thing, let's try that? Or do
yeah,
you just get tense and like, because it's like having no feedback, isn't it? It's like posting on social media and having nothing coming back to you, which we
yeah.
both know
It's
happens.
yeah, yeah. It's hard. I'll never forget. I had a particular gig once. I was playing in Walthamstow,
Yeah,
North London,
yeah,
and it was about 2 or 3 days before Christmas. And I was told, like, commercial tech house is what works in this place. Like, go down
yeah,
that route, you'll be fine. I'm like, all right, cool. Do my typical thing. I get there early. I listen to the other DJs playing. Everyone's playing commercial tech house. No one's dancing. I'm like, oh dear. I'm gonna have to change it up a little bit. So I come on and
yeah,
I'm like trying to read the room a little bit. I'm like, maybe they want something a bit more bouncy, a bit more disco-y.
yeah,
Put that on, that didn't land. I'm like, maybe age-wise, maybe a bit garage. Put that,
yeah,
didn't work. No. It's like maybe I've completely misread lists. Maybe they want something heavier. Put that on, that didn't work. And I'm like, at this point, I'm really, really struggling. I'm like half an hour into a 2-hour set, and no one's really even given me so much as a woo. And I'm like, oh, what do I do? And in my infinite wisdom, I have a song on my USB that I use primarily to wind up my friends, usually
okay,
after
yeah,
parties over the years,
okay,
which is "We Like to Party" by the Venga Boys. Yeah, and I was like, well, what have I got to lose? I played it. The roof erupted, the whole place went mad. And I was like, everyone wants cheese. That's what
yes,
they want. They want cheesy
yes,
music, which I don't have
yeah,
any of. So,
yes,
I was
yeah, yeah, yeah,
scrambling
yeah,
for like an ABBA remix or something like that on my USB. I fumbled my way through a pretty difficult set. But moments like that are, real character building and real learning moments for me. Always have those things in your arsenal,
yeah, yeah.
because you never know. And, it will, people
It gives
remember
you a
moments like that.
connection. They'll
It
give you a
does. Yeah.
connection. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Look, I mean, I think I've covered music production. But how's your production going?
Yeah, not too bad at the moment.
Yeah,
Not as good as I'd hoped, but that's, like I say, I'm doing a lot of admin at the moment. I put a post up on Instagram recently talking about how many ongoing projects I've got at the
yeah,
moment.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
did a bit of an audit the other day, and I had something like 91 projects on just on my own. And if I
yeah.
included projects with other
Collabs.
artists and
Yeah.
collabs, it was over two high. It was like 211
Wow.
ongoing projects. So I've been really, really brutally, rather than working on music, I've been really brutally going through all my old projects and just basically going, no, get in the bin if I'm not 100% set on the idea, and then sort of trying to filter off the ones that I'm like, no, these are the ones that are worth a bit of time, worth
Yeah,
working on,
yeah.
and then trying to find some
It's funny, right?
time
Because
for new tracks.
we both know Kat from Faded
Yes,
Community Society, and I was chatting to her the other day. I said, "Hutton, when is the release date?" And I was like, chat, 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 chat. Said, "This is the problem with producers; they do not put the bloody date in the diary." And so she forced me to put a date in, and then it's like,
right.
that's what I would do at work. At work, I would put the date in first, and you work towards it.
You
And with
see,
this stuff, it's funny, isn't it?
yeah, I don't know. Again, if well, I know but
Yeah,
people watching this might not know that I jumped from one extreme to the other at the beginning of this year, and
yeah,
went from not doing any self releases at all and just relying on label releases to going, right, well, I'm sat on so much music. I had, I think, off the top of my head, around about 60 tracks that were finished, just sat on
wow,
my hard drive.
wow,
And I was like, I need to do something with them, because they're just there. And ultimately, yeah, I've heard them enough now. I don't want to listen to them anymore. But there's a lot of people out there that I know will enjoy them. So I was like, right, I'm just going to release. I'm just going to start releasing music. So I decided to do weekly releases, which was a hell of a lot more intense than I thought it would be. You know, I would love to have done all this promotion behind it as well, but ultimately, the getting the tracks ready for release, all the artwork, all of the distribution, the mixing, the mastering, everything behind that I did all single handedly took up all of the time.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't get to promote it very much. Kind of hoped
yeah.
that if that was the case, it would have some sort of a snowball effect and
Compounding.
and
Yeah,
compounding effect, and it did. It didn't do the opposite,
yeah.
but
I understand.
I've not
Yeah,
seen the results
and
that I thought would have come from it.
yeah. I mean,
So
there's
I'm
it's
changing tack
interesting.
a little, and
Yeah, and it's good. I mean, you would have learned a lot of skills on how to do them quickly. You know, that's really good. I think my read on it as well. I talk to my wife who's an artist. I know your better half is as well.
mm,
And the thing is, like, if you produce 60 items, you create 60 marketing problems. You
yeah,
know, and it's like, well, do you want 60 marketing problems? No. Okay, focus on one track and like smash the hell out of the marketing. And there's a way, isn't there? So I mean, I also studied sort of screenwriting a long time ago, and I don't know if I
okay,
mentioned it, but if you had like they had like this 3-to-1 ratio on marketing. So if you spent 100 million on a film, you spent 300 million
300.
on marketing. That's why you see all the stuff on the buses.
Yeah,
Like there is so much money put into the marketing, and it's 3 times the effort or the money than the product.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
it's
All right,
crazy.
look, we've come up to time now. So obviously
Amazing.
we're going to see each other at the Garden Club in Mallorca at the north of the
Yep,
island.
can't
So I
wait.
see there. Yeah. And just so this is all about you. So where can people find you online? And I'll put them in the show notes.
So Instagram, SoundCloud, Bandcamp. They're the best three to find me on. So Instagram, frankmusic_UK. You can follow me on TikTok as well if you want. I think that's at Dance to Frank, the same as SoundCloud at Dance to Frank, and Bandcamp. I think is the same as my Instagram handle, Frank Music UK. So yeah, all of my releases that I've done this year as well are all up for free download on Bandcamp.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So every single one of them that I've done self-release can be
So
downloaded by any
if you,
DJ.
so I'm going to put that at the beginning of the show notes. Watch this
Amazing.
whole episode to see there's a free offer at the end.
Free offer at the end. There you go. And
Loads of free music. That's great.
loads of free music, and there's loads of free music as well. Some free downloads on my SoundCloud. You know, some of them we've had support from some massive names as well.
Yeah.
We've some remixes from Shaw and myself as well, and yeah, we've had some massive support. Marco Corolla, Paco Asana,
Okay. Wow.
some big names. So yeah, lots more to come as well. I've got lots more unreleased music on the way, and
In my opinion, well deserved, honestly. And
thank you.
looking forward to seeing what you get up to this year and see you on the dance floor. So
Absolutely,
see you later,
looking
Mark,
forward to it.
and thanks for your time. Cheers.
Catch you later, bud.